Hello folks, welcome to this video. In this video, we'll be talking about JavaScript and a very interesting application built on it. So this is the application fully built on JavaScript itself, and what we can do using this is we can control the Docker content, like Docker running in the system. So let me first of all show you the walk you through the final project or a small concept. So what we want to do, we want to run the Docker, or let's say we want to execute the Docker commands using the web browser and run some basic commands of Docker, like Docker ps, and let's say um, Docker run. Then let me check if there are images present. So yes, there is a CentOS image present. Then let us run this image. So we are even able to create the images and list the image, list all images we have, and let's say if we want to remove it, so we can forcefully remove it. But before it, let's check if this is working. Docker exec. Yes, this is also working. We run the date command. So finally, we can even remove the containers which we have created. So this is a full-fledged, web browser application through which we can control the Docker. Not even just Docker, like your basic Linux command. You can also execute it, and everything would be displayed in a very pretty format. So how this is done? So this is basic code of JavaScript, which I'll show you right now. And I've used Apache server, web server to host it, and I built a very small, API for controlling this Linux commands. So let's begin. So as I told you, like I've used JavaScript, so there are two scripts basically which I made. One is for enter, like we are comfortable pressing enter after running the command and not click submit. So for that functionality in our web browser, we need to write a piece of code in JavaScript. So this is what it is. Now 13 is we all know that 13 is the internal code for enter. So if it recognizes enter, it would create an event, and that event is click on a button which I created using this ID. This is the ID. On click, it is running another JavaScript function, which is Linux, which is present here. This is the main crux of this whole program, and it's just, it's 25 lines of code. You can build such an small application, but useful application. So what finally our logic is, we are using the XML HTTP request, and we are not making it Ajax. If let's say if you make it true, then it would be Ajax, and we can control other functionalities in parallel. So we are not doing it because we are just having just one terminal to do all the stuff. And this is the CJI bin, let's say the API which I made, and all the command which you put is going in this query and like in this command, and finally it's going to this Python API which I've made. I will show you. So what we are doing, we are making a connection, let's say opening a connection, then we are sending what we have, and we are taking the response, and we are showing that response in a division tag. It's an empty tag, that's why you cannot see anything beforehand when you refresh it. And as soon as our output comes, it is replaced here. So this is how this basic pretty application is working. And this is Ubuntu. So in Ubuntu, we have CJ in a different folder by default, and you can change this folder, but it's in user lib, and by default it won't come. And in Ubuntu, if you want to install Apache, then the command would be sudo apt install Apache 2. So this is Apache 2 is the name of HTTP or Apache web server. in Ubuntu Package Manager. And to activate CGI bin, there's one command you need to run. After that only it would start. So this is the command which you need to run to start the CGI. It is only once, and then you need to restart Apache. So I've done that already, and finally I'll show you the Python CGI code. Yeah, so that's it. This is pretty much all working behind this small application. So what we are doing is I'm using the CGI package and subprocess to execute the system commands. Now this is the setting, like I'm setting headers, and finally I'm using field storage to take the value from the field queue which we are passing here, like that the queue will hold the command which we are sending. And finally, using subprocess, we are taking the output and we are simply printing it. And to print it in a a pretty way, like in a well-defined way, we are using pre-tags. So in this division blocks, I have used pre-tags. That's why the format is in a readable format. Otherwise, it would be juxtatext. So, yes, and finally, this is a JavaScript. This is just the one script which you need to make to control your Linux using web browsers. And you can even use shell in a box, which is actually providing the Linux shell on the web browser. It's a software, but you can say that you have made your own software. It's not fully functioning Linux terminal because you can see that it's static. Like after this, there's no another terminal coming up here, but we can make it. This is just a basic, a simple project, but a useful one, which you can start with by while learning JavaScript. Thank you for watching this video.